Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking on something a little different. Not a research paper, but the transcript from a really intense, specialized town hall.
That's right. And this one was designed specifically for uh, senior software developers and engineers, not for people who want to become PMs necessarily.
Exactly. It's for you, the learner, who's looking for that strategic edge. We're going to distill this down, get right to the core framework that, really defines every successful tech company.
It's that holy trinity of product thinking, what to build, how to build, and crucially, when to build.
Yeah, this is all about understanding the economics and the user psychology that really dictate your day-to-day work. We're not telling you to go change your job title.
No, not at all. The goal here is to give you the tools to make you, the developer, just dramatically more effective. We're talking about really accelerating your career.
And your impact. Moving beyond just writing clean lines of code.
And we should probably mention the source here is solid. The instructor for this town hall has, over a decade of experience?
Yeah, 12 years building major products. Things like the M-Parivahan app, which get this scale to 4 million daily active users.
Relax, yeah.
Yeah.
And experience across the board funded startups like Doubtnut, which we'll get into, and large-scale government projects. This is battle-tested stuff.
And here's the big picture. The reason this is so important right now, this whole idea, product management, the ability to define the right problem, it's becoming the single most valuable skill in tech.
For sure. You see these AI tools, like Devin, that are getting really good at boilerplate coding.
Right, so if all you can do is execute a task you're given, you're sort of becoming automatable.
But the skill that can't be automated, that strategic brain, that's defining the problem, figuring out the solution, prioritizing the roadmap. That's your future-proofing.
It's the difference between being a mechanic who's told what to fix and being the architect who designs the whole machine.
Mm-hmm. And the town hall started right there, with a quick, kind of brutal lesson in market reality.
Let's dive into that, this initial test they ran. So the session kicks off with this brilliant rapid-fire exercise, a 10-minute challenge, and the goal was basically to rip the developers out of their code editors.
And force them into the user's shoes.
Exactly. The instruction was simple. Find a top 3 app on the Play Store, one you maybe haven't used much, and just do a lightning-fast analysis.
And the key wasn't to, admire how great the app was. The point was to find its flaws.
Yeah.
They were specifically told to go look at the user reviews.
Not just any reviews, though.
No, the critical ones, the one-star reviews. Because these are the people who desperately want to use your product, but something is fundamentally blocking them.
The instructor gave examples like Hotstar or Zepto, huge successful apps.
But if you go to the one-star reviews, you immediately find the Achilles heel.
So participants had to answer 4 questions. What's the app? What problem does it solve? Who's the target user?
And then the big one, the engineering question. How would you improve it based only on that painful user feedback?
And this exercise, it's so effective because it just immediately smacks you with what the instructor called the constraint reality.
Right. The reality that every single platform, doesn't matter if it's Meta, Instagram, whatever, every single one is fundamentally broken in some way.
The chat in the town hall just lit up. Somebody mentioned Zepto's real-time tracking failing during peak hours. That's a classic server underload issue.
Yep. And another person brought up Instagram Lite constantly crashing on low-end Android phones. That's a pure optimization problem.
And that's such a huge perspective shift for a developer, right? We were so used to focusing on the happy path in our test environments.
But that person leaving a one-star review, they are giving you high-value free intel. They're not just haters. They are frustrated customers who tried and failed.
They're basically defining your highest leverage bugs for you.
And this is where the philosophy of it all starts to click. You realize there are always hundreds of issues. You could hire 10 times the engineers and you'd still have a backlog.
Because resources, your time, your budget, your team's energy are always finite. They are always constrained.
Which brings us to that daily dilemma every engineer faces. It's a prioritization problem that just looks like a technical choice.
You look at your backlog. Do you spend the next sprint building that beautiful new microservice that's going to cut server costs by 5% next year?
Or do you fix that nasty bug that only affects users in, say, Tier 3 cities on a 2G network, but is causing 20% of your new users to just quit on day one?
And that choice is the absolute core of product management. It's deciding where to put that limited energy.
Because if you pick the technically cool problem but ignore the user pain, you might actually be speeding up the company's failure. Churn keeps going up.
Without that product mindset, you just default to what's easiest or most interesting to code.
But the real value is in finding which constraint, if you remove it, unlocks the most benefit for the business and the user at the same time.
Okay, so with that reality check done, problems are infinite, resources are not, the town hall moved to a formal definition.
Yeah, and it's a great one. Very concise, very strategic. Product management is the art of defining what is the most critical problem for your business to solve, and then how to solve it.
It really splits the job in two pillars.
Right. Pillar one is the strategic part, defining the right problem. That's the what and the when. It's all about data, financial models, the big picture.
And pillar two is where the magic happens. Finding the efficient solution, the how. This is where the PM and the developer basically become a single unit.
The PM brings the why and the what, the business constraints. And the developer brings their technical expertise, talking about feasibility, architecture, how to build it fast for those specific users.
It's a feedback loop. Strategy, execution, strategy, execution.
And that partnership is exactly why we're seeing this new role emerge, especially in Silicon Valley, the product engineer.
Right. And it's consistently cited as one of the highest paid roles in the world.
Because a product engineer isn't just a coder. They're a hybrid. They can architect a system. They can write the code, probably using AI tools to go faster. But they also have this deep, almost innate understanding of the user.
And the business model. And the market. They think full stack, but like business full stack.
Exactly. Their value isn't how fast they type. It's how much waste they prevent.
What do you mean by waste?
They stop the engineering team from burning 3 months of salary, building a feature that doesn't actually solve the most important problem.
So they're highly paid because they manage limited time and limited money to solve the problems that have the most leverage.
It's like the instructor said, if you solve the wrong problem perfectly, you have successfully failed.
That's a great line. And let's connect this to business metrics, things developers might not always think about, like customer acquisition cost or CAC.
Yes. So later in the case study, we find out this company, Doubtnut, was spending 1 lakh rupees to get 10,000 users. That's a CAC. But if 60% of those users leave instantly because the app doesn't work for them, your effective keep for the users who stay just skyrocketed.
So the product engineer sees their code as a financial tool.
100%. If they can fix that 60% failure rate, they don't just improve the UX, they slash the effective keep by 60%. That is a direct line from code to profitability. That's why prioritization is a superpower.
Okay, let's get to the core of this whole deep dive. The Doubtnut case study, this is just so rich with painful, actionable lessons.
Yeah, the instructor walked them through this critical period, 2017 to 2020. Doubtnut was an edtech platform built on ML and AI.
And the goal was providing doubt resolution for students in Tier 3 cities where, good teachers are hard to come by.
The product idea was great. A student takes a photo of a math problem or whatever, uploads it, and boom, within 10 seconds, an AI matches it to a video solution.
And they got huge. We mentioned 40 lakh daily users. That is a massive footprint.
But with that scale came massive problems. The instructor laid out 3 huge challenges that were basically threatening the entire business.
Okay, let's break them down. Problem A.
Image upload failure. This was brutal. 60% of users could not upload their question. 60%.
And why?
It was the user's environment. Super low-end phones, less than 1 GB of RAM sometimes, and really bad 2G or 3G networks. This was a physical wall blocking them from even using the app.
Okay, problem B.
Video watch failure. So for the 40% who could upload a question, many of them weren't actually watching the video solution that the AI gave them.
Which could mean a couple things, right? Either the AI match was bad or the video player itself was buggy.
Exactly. And then there was problem C, retention failure.
This is the quiet killer.
Totally. Users got the right answer, they watched the video, they got value, but they didn't come back the next day to ask another question. The product wasn't sticky.
So you got 3 huge fires burning at once. The town hall ran a poll, right? Which one do you solve first?
They did. And 58% of the student developers in the audience chose problem A, the image upload failure.
And that was the right call.
Absolutely the right call. And here's the business logic. We mentioned the 1 lakh rupees a day to get 10,000 downloads.
So if 60% of them can't even use the app, that means they were literally burning 60,000 rupees every single day.
You're paying to acquire users who immediately churn and leave a 1-star review saying your app is broken.
So fixing problem A wasn't just a tech fix, it was plugging a massive financial hole.
And you can't even measure the other problems accurately until you fix it. You
Yeah.
can't test your AI if people can't upload the image. You can't fix retention for a user who never got started.
The prioritization was perfect, but here's the kicker. The solution they came up with.
This is the core lesson for every engineer listening. They came up with a technically brilliant solution that completely
Right.
failed.
So the problem is sending large image files over slow networks. The smart idea was to use a Google Firebase ML SDK to do optical character recognition, OCR, on the phone itself.
In simple terms, instead of sending the big photo, the phone would read the text from the image and just send that tiny bit of text to the server. Bandwidth problem solved, right?
Genius. And they even used lazy loading for the SDK so it wouldn't bloat the app install size. From a pure engineering standpoint, this is like A+ work.
This is what you're taught to do. Offload work to the client to save server costs. Modern, smart architecture.
But hold on. Why did it fail? This feels like what any good developer would propose.
And that's the pivot point. Because we're not building for Silicon Valley. In the US, a user has an iPhone with 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. Running an OCR algorithm is nothing.
But the Doubtnut user.
The Doubtnut user is on a phone with maybe 1 GB of shared memory. Total.
So the code was fine, but the assumption about the environment was completely wrong.
Precisely. That Firebase SDK, even lazy loaded, needed a huge burst of CPU and memory when it activated. And on a phone that's already struggling to run the operating system, that was the final straw.
The phones just couldn't handle it.
They froze. The app crashed. Some users said their phones even overheated and had to be rebooted.
Imagine being the engineer on that project. You spend a month building this elegant solution.
And you have to roll it back on day one. It must have been just crushing. The business impact was immediate. The app's rating on the Play Store dropped from a pretty good 4.1 to a terrible 3.1 overnight.
Because users don't blame the SDK or their cheap phone, they blame your app.
And that's the lesson. User experience always trumps a clever technical solution. If your brilliant code makes the product worse for the user in their actual environment, it's a failure.
Which led directly to the homework assignment from the town hall.
Right. Solve the image upload problem, but without crashing the phone. And you can't lose too much quality because the AI still needs a good image to get the right match. It forces you to think completely differently.
That Doubtnut story is just the perfect proof that hard skills alone, your algorithms, your system design, it's not enough to get to the next level.
No, that's just the ticket to get in the door. To actually accelerate your career, you need these other strategic muscles. You need product thinking baked into everything you do.
The instructor broke down a few of these essential qualities. The first one was the problem-solving mindset.
And this isn't just, I fix the bug. This is about being a strategic partner. The developer who goes to their PM and says, okay, here's the problem. I've thought about it. Solution A is fast, but has these risks. Solution B is slower, but way more stable. And I recommend B because we cannot risk another Doubtnut-style crash.
That person is invaluable.
Totally. And that comes from analytical thinking. They're not just coding, they're looking at the data. They see that 60% failure rate and use it to justify their technical choices in business terms.
They can connect their code to dollars and user retention. That's what shows you're ready for a senior role.
Okay, the second quality is, honestly, a bit terrifying: attention to detail and edge cases.
We all try, but the examples of when this goes wrong are just massive.
The one from the town hall was the Microsoft CrowdStrike outage. A faulty update from the CrowdStrike security team took down Windows desktops globally.
I remember this. Airlines were grounded. Hospitals were in chaos.
And it wasn't a hack, it was a technical oversight. A single edge case that their testing missed, and it cascaded into a global catastrophe.
It just shows that when you operate at scale, a tiny mistake can have unbelievable consequences.
So if you want to be responsible for mission-critical systems, you have to be hyper-vigilant. You have to be paranoid about every little detail.
The third quality brings us right back to the main theme: user-first thinking.
It's the Doubtnut lesson all over again. You have to code for your most constrained user. Before you write a single line of client-side code, you have to ask, what's their RAM? What's their network latency? What happens if the connection drops halfway through?
You have to mentally put yourself in that Tier 3 city with a 2G connection. If your solution fails for them, it's a failed solution.
And the last one is communication and teamwork. This is about being the bridge, the translator.
Can you take a vague requirement from a PM, like we need to increase engagement, and turn it into specific technical tasks?
Right. Or can you look at a Figma design and spot the implementation problems before you start coding and go back to the designer with a solution? The great engineer doesn't just wait for perfect instructions. They ask the right questions to create clarity.
And this whole package is what defines that high-value, highly paid product engineer. All right, let's make this even more concrete with some real-world examples from huge apps, starting with localization or I-18N using Google Pay.
The question for the class was simple. If a Google Pay user in, say, the United States enters a wrong UPI PIN, do they see a message in English and Hindi?
Of course not. That would be absurd.
Right, but the engineering decision that prevents that from happening is the key. It's not about translation, it's about architecture.
A good engineer built that system from day one to detect the user's location, probably using their mobile country code or something.
And then it serves the right language from a central file. No hard-coded text. If you hard-code even one Hindi phrase and a user in Germany sees it, that's a huge embarrassment and it requires a stressful, mandatory app update to fix.
Next up, A/B testing and personalization. The example here was Swiggy.
So we all know what A/B testing is. Show version A to some users, version B to others, see what works better.
But with Swiggy, it's way more advanced. The order of restaurants you see on your screen is not the same as what I see. It's completely personalized and dynamic.
Swiggy is constantly running hundreds of these little experiments to figure out which layout, which banner, which sequence of restaurants makes you specifically more likely to order.
And the implication for the developer is that you have to build your code to be experimentative.
Exactly. You need feature flags, dynamic configurations. Your code has to be flexible so the PM can just flip a switch on a dashboard and test something on 1% of users.
Yeah.
Without you having to redeploy the whole app.
That speed of experimentation is a huge competitive advantage.
And it leads us right back to the Doubtnut problem, solving it with low bandwidth engineering. And the prime example is ShareChat.
ShareChat is a massive Indian social network, right? For tier 3 and 4 towns, basically.
15 languages, hundreds of millions of users, all in those same slow 2G, 3G networks that killed Doubtnut, but they mastered it.
How many uploads do they handle?
Over 100 million a day. They crack the code on image and video compression without crashing phones.
So how do they do it? It's obviously not that heavy client-side SDK.
No. They're using a mix of smart techniques, aggressive server-side compression, using modern file formats like WebP that are designed to be small, and something called progressive loading.
What's that?
Instead of making you wait for the whole high-res image to download, it sends a blurry, low-res preview almost instantly.
So it feels fast.
Exactly. It improves the perceived speed, which, on a slow network, is everything. And this is the direct homework assignment. Go read ShareChat's engineering blogs. Learn how the people who solved this exact problem did it.
Okay, final example. Cultural differences. Why can't you just clone an app that's a huge hit in India, like a UPI app, and expect it to work in the US?
Because the underlying infrastructure is totally different. The US doesn't have UPI. People there use credit cards, or maybe Venmo or Zelle, which are built on different systems.
They have different behaviors, different ideas about trust and money.
Right. So a developer who understands that the tech has to adapt to the local culture and infrastructure can save the company from making a huge, costly, and frankly, obvious mistake. So if you're an engineer listening to this, here's the bottom line. Here's why all this matters. The instructor was very clear. Learning these PM basics helps developers grow twice as fast as their peers.
2 times faster. And that speed comes from creating real impact.
When you're the one who solves the problem that's losing the company 60,000 rupees a day, you become visible. You create quantifiable value. And seniority is measured by impact, not by how many years you've been at the company.
It's about how you frame your work, too, not just, I optimized a database query.
It's my optimization reduced latency, which led to a 3% increase in completed orders, which meant an extra X million in revenue. When you can connect your code to cash like that, you are on the leadership track.
And this gets tested. In interviews for senior roles, for engineering managers, they grill you on this stuff.
They do. In those hiring manager rounds, they don't just want to know what you built. They want to know why you built it that way. Why did you choose this architecture over the alternatives? How did it solve a user's pain point?
And if you can't answer that, you sound like you were just coding in a box.
And then there's the big one, future-proofing against AI. As tools like Devin get better at the how, at the actual writing of code, our value as humans shifts completely to the what and the why.
The AI can write the code, but it can't define the problem. It can't do the creative thinking under constraints. It can't do the strategic prioritization.
That's our job now. If you're just executing tasks, you're competing with AI. If you're defining the tasks, you're leading the AI. It's a fundamental shift. #tag outro. So, to wrap this all up, a few key takeaways from this town hall. First, that holy trinity. Always ask what to build, how to build, when to build. If you don't know the why, just pause.
Second, the Doubtnut lesson. User experience always beats a clever technical solution. Always.
Third, resources are finite. Prioritization is everything. It is the highest leverage skill you can build because it makes sure you're working on the most important thing first.
And finally, that attention to detail, that paranoia about edge cases, it's what prevents those massive global disasters. Code like the whole world is watching because one day it might be.
And we really encourage you to take that homework seriously. Start looking at the apps you use every day, Swiggy, Instagram, whatever, through this product lens. Start trying to figure out why they're broken.
And go study ShareChat's engineering blogs, see how they solved the compression problem.
Here's a final thought to leave you with, something to chew on. The world is moving from just being online to being AI and product-led. It's driven by totally new user experiences.
20 years ago, you had to understand how the internet worked. Now you have to understand how these next-gen products are built. Think about AR and VR. They introduce a whole new set of user constraints, battery life, processing power.
Product thinking isn't a niche skill anymore. It's the main event for the next 2 decades in tech.
Start applying that Doubtnut lesson to your work today. Think about your most constrained user. We'll see you on the next deep dive.